Hello everyone, Frederik here. Today we're going to have a look at a follow-up from the last video in the series about posture, and I hope you enjoyed that one. So we're going to have a look at how technology and the things in our environment and the things we use influences our body and our posture. Yeah, so without further ado, let's jump straight into it. It seems to be a feature of the Western psyche that really we want to solve the problems of the body by way of technology. That is to say, why should we do physical work and change our relationship with the body when we can buy some gizmo that will do it for us and it's only $79.95, and it may even be proven by science. Now, this is not exactly a new idea. For several hundred years, humans have used corsets, for instance, because of the way that it changes the body, because of ideals of beauty. Then there was the unfortunate side effect that it seriously changed the skeleton of its uses, but that wasn't too much of a concern at the time. At the same time, braces was also quite heavily in use, and I'll try to drop some pictures in the video so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So now we obviously have more modern examples of products and things that are supposed to change our posture for the better. So at the moment there's quite a few people who use, I think they're called posture correctors. So this kind of sling that you put around the shoulder, around the back, and then it yanks the shoulders back by way of the tension on the posture corrector. So that's just to say that principle of changing the body by technology, that's been there for at least several hundred years and possibly longer. If we look a bit further afield and we look at what things we use quite regularly in our daily lives at the moment, chairs are kind of vilified for what they do to the body, being sedentary, not moving enough, yada yada yada. And it's not exactly a new problem. So here's a little quote to put things into perspective. Any culture that decides to sit on chairs must come to terms with a challenging reality: human posture. The first person to recognize the connection between sitting and posture was the 18th century French physician Nicolas André de Beauregard, and André was a pioneer in the field of orthopedics. He coined the term, and in his 1741 treatise he described the connection between healthy sitting posture and chairs. When one sits with the body bended backwards, the back must necessarily be crooked inwards, he wrote. And when one sits upon a hollow seat, the effort which one naturally makes, and without any design, to bring the body to an equilibrium must, of necessity, make the back still more crooked. The hollow seat referred to, the concave wooden rush seats of the ordinary chairs, which tended to sag over time. To improve posture, André proposed adding an adjustable screw that would push up on the seat from beneath, keeping it flat. So it's not exactly like inward crookedness has declined since 1471. And like there's been all this talk about like sitting being the new smoking and this sort of thing. And I do think that's a bit exaggerating things and putting things out of perspective. But it is definitely true that the inactivity is probably more of a problem than sitting per se. There is a point to be made about the sitting position in chairs, so I'll go over that. Basically, if you want to sit upright and you want things to stack put it that way, you kind of have to sit on the sit bones. That's to say the bony protuberances on the pelvis. If you sit on that, then you can get the whole hip, shoulder, and ear alignment to work quite well. Kind of like a standing position would be. And to get to that, you do need to put your pelvis a little bit forward. That's to say, if you had a tail, it would have to show behind you. And you can only really achieve that if the seat is either flat or it's a little bit tilted forward. So it's kind of like you're falling off the seat. If you have a seat where there's a curvature, and that's the thing that the French physician was talking about, if it's curved under, so it's a hollow seat, you're almost invariably going to tuck your tail under, and that makes it impossible to keep that alignment by yourself. So then there are some ergonomic chairs that goes around that particular problem by going, okay, we're going to have a hollow seat, but we're also going to have contours that line up with the spine, so the spine is supported and then there is no problem, in quotation marks. Which, at least as far as I'm concerned, it seems a little bit backwards to try to solve the problem of the hollow seat by doing more modifications to the seat. And if you boil it down, what it's basically saying is that, okay, the human body is actually inherently flawed, and it must be corrected by way of technology. So we can't sit properly by ourselves, so we're going to correct it with technology, instead of saying we need to have basic seats and then we need to learn how to use our bodies to use these seats to our advantage. And if you look a little bit away from chairs and you go look at shoes, for instance, you'll find the same basic idea going, okay, the human foot is not by itself good enough. So we have added things like arch support and cushioning and toe spring and heel lift to our shoes, which is all taking a particular part of foot function, what the foot should naturally do, taking that away from the shoes and then saying, we're going to improve on that with our shoe design. And the trouble is, there's definitely cases where that is a good thing to do. Like you have people with particular medical conditions where you need that kind of thing in the shoe to provide some kind of support. You can have leg length differences where, yes, you do need to have that evened out with a shoe. But it also takes away the stimulation that we should naturally be getting from our feet. Now, one of the problems with this particular case is when we are talking about what is essentially the quote-unquote the body of the body, the things that we use, it's quite often related to social taboos. So when the Vibram 5 fingers, the little toe shoes, came out, it was quite, it wasn't socially acceptable to use them in normal social situations, and you were kind of looked on as a weirdo. And of course, like this has changed recently, and more people are wearing this sort of thing, and it's become more in the public discourse. But looking at what we do and what we wear is always something where we are playing with that taboo of what is socially acceptable. And just to mention another thing that relates to this subject is, with the chairs, obviously we also have the phenomenon of standing workstations. And they've gone through the whole same evolution. Like for a period, it was kind of strange to have a standing workstation, and now everyone has them. And it's not like they don't offer relief in some cases, but there's just a little bit of irony in trying to solve the problem of technology, the problem of sitting, by way of more technology, by workstations with treadmills. And of course, the real solution to the problem lies elsewhere. And it can put it like this. Like, the deeper problem is that if we don't put enough energy into changing our bodies, that is to say, do an appropriate amount of physical work, then do we really deserve the results? So maybe the solution is not so much looking at all the different things that we can do to the desk and try to come up with a perfect chair. And maybe the solution is more in the realm of just going and lifting heavy things and doing more of that sort of activity in our lives. So that's what we're going to look at in the next episode. How does strength work and posture relate? Thank you for watching.